Welcome to Flow. Let's get started. Today we'll start off in a lying down position. Knock your knees together, bring your feet a little bit wider, and take a few moments to come into your breath. Bring awareness to the movement of your breath. Every exhale, allow yourself to sink a little bit heavier into your mat. Feel your shoulders release into the ground and let your hips and torso be heavy. As you feel your chest rise and fall with every big breath in. Starting with some arm movements, stretch your fingertips up to the ceiling and then bring your hands all the way back behind you. If you can bring your thumbs down to the ground, go ahead and try that. Nice and slow here. Just moving into range of motion through the shoulders. As you're doing this, try to keep your rib cage as still as you can. The ribs are going to move a little bit, but try to keep them as stationary as possible. And just find your range of motion. So if you can't get your hands all the way back to the ground behind you, that's okay. We're going to do 5 of these total, just moving nice and slow. Really paying attention to how your shoulder is moving. Try to keep your shoulder blades plugged onto your back. We're going to switch up the exercise here. So once again, reach your arms up overhead, but now goal post your elbows, pull them down to your side. And if you can't get your hands to the ground, that's okay, but find your goal post and reach your arms back up overhead and then slice through the air, bring your hands back by your hips. And continue to go through this. We do this about 5 times. Reach up overhead, find this goal post shape. Stretch your arms up overhead and then release your hands down by your waist and then just keep this moving, again, moving nice and slow. Moving intentionally through each exercise. We're really starting to feel the activation of the shoulder on the back, noticing how the ribs and the chest can splay open or how you can knit your ribs together and be a little more compact in your upper body. Just keep moving through this nice and slow. Keep the weight of your torso on the ground. And we'll do one more set here. Reach up through your hands, pull your elbows down, find your goalpost. Reach up overhead, and then move your hands back down towards your waist. Pull your knees into your chest, catch on behind your thighs, rock and roll yourself upright. We're moving to a tabletop all fours position. Place your shoulders over your wrists and your hips over your knees. Extend your arm so it comes out right in front of you. So your palm is facing down towards the mat. Now, bend your elbows so your hand pats behind your shoulders and then re-extend your arm and then bend your elbow so you make a goalpost and re-extend. We do this again. Bend the elbow, pat your back, reach your arms straight, find your goalpost, make a fist and extend. And again, bend the elbow, pat your back, reach your arms straight, make a fist, pull the elbow back. Last one here, extend the arms forward, bend your elbow, pat your back, reach your arm forward, bend your elbow. Now hold it right here and just lift your elbow. Just about 6 inches up and down. So you start to feel that activation of your right shoulder blade pulling towards your left shoulder blade. That's your right rhomboid, pulling your right side shoulder blade over towards your left. Take this about 5 times total. And then add a thread the needle. So bring your right arm underneath your left wrist. Bring your right ear down to the mat. And then option to bring your left hand over your left ear. And you can rotate and spin your heart space up towards the ceiling. Give yourself a few moments of breath here, just feeling that nice stretch and separation into your shoulders, into your neck. Take one more big breath and bring your left hand right next to your nose. Press into your hand. Re-extend your right arm up to the ceiling. Find a nice open twist. And then start to take big circles, starting with this backstroke. Actively press down through your left hand. Take these nice, huge circles with your right arm. You could have a little bit of a bend with your right elbow if that feels good. Take 3 or 4 in one direction and then go ahead and switch this the opposite way. Just finding a little more mobility and movement into the right shoulder girdle. And after you've done 3 or so of those, bring your right hand back down to the ground. We're gonna switch everything to the left side. So re-engage back into your tabletop. Stretch your left fingertips forward. Pat your back between your shoulder blades with your left hand. Reach your left fingertips forward and then bend your elbow, goal post your arm. We repeat this 4 times. Stretch, pat your back, reach your fingertips forward, pull the elbow back. All the while, maintain that your right palm is really plugged down into the back. Your right shoulder is on your back here. One more here, using the core to support your lower spine. Pat your back, reach your left fingertips forward, pull your left elbow back. Hold it there, and then just start to lift your left elbow, just finding some extra activation into your left rhomboid. So you're actively pressing down into your right palm. And try not to make too much of a twist out of this. Your left shoulder is going to lift up just a little bit, but try not to make too much of an open twist out of this. After you've done this about 5 times, take your thread the needle. So bring your left arm underneath your right armpit. Bring your left ear down to the ground. You can stay here. You can extend your right fingertips towards the front of your space. And that can initiate a little more of a torso twist. Keep those breaths going. Nice big breath in and out. And then slowly unravel yourself out of this. Place your right hand next to your nose if it's not already there. Re-extend your left arm up towards the ceiling and then start to take those huge back strokes, starting with your left arm. So we're getting a little more open into the chest now. You can even drop your head and your neck if that feels like an extra lengthening. And then start this in the other way. Nice big front strokes. Nice and heavy through the head, nice and heavy through the neck. Maybe even find a little bit of movement through the jaw. And bring yourself back to neutral tabletop position. Flip your toes under, find downward facing dog. Spread your fingers wide, feel your shoulders on your back. From here, we're gonna move through a cat and cow in a downward facing dog. So it might feel a little funky. Contract through your upper back. You can lift your heels up and then think of arching through your mid-spine and keep moving through these two, cat and cow. So think of a nice big contraction, as big as you can make, chin to chest, as much as you can. And then do the opposite, almost like you're trying to bring your head between your arms. We take this about 5 times total, just another way to approach this spinal movement. And then bring your gaze up towards your hands and start to walk your feet forward. Separate your feet about the width of your mat. Turn your toes out slightly, bend your knees a lot. Stretch your arms out long in front of you. Find a long, flat spine. Now lift yourself up with your biceps by your ears. Pull both elbows back, goalpost. Re-extend your arms and then release your fingertips back down to the mat. And continue to move this way. Maintain the bend of your knees. So you're always active in the legs with your squat. And you're starting to feel this activation through your back muscles and your core muscles. Try to maintain this long, flat spine. Even when you release your body over, think of maintaining that long, flat spine. We take this about 5 times total. Try to stay as low as you can with your squat in your legs. Try to stay as long as you can in your arms as you lift and lower. And now hold your long, flat spine and start to just lift and lower. Think of lifting 3 inches and then lowering 3 inches. And this is really going to get into your middle spine. The length and the strength of your middle spine. Pull your shoulders down your back, obviously working into the shoulders as well here. And then release yourself all the way over. Rotate your toes back to face towards the front, ragdoll pose. Bend your knees and then slowly roll yourself up to stand, 1 vertebrae at a time. Shoulders, chin, and gaze is last to arrive. We're gonna start to take a little more movement through the shoulders, starting with 3 big shoulder rolls backwards. So lift your shoulders up and pull them back. Take that 3 big times, nice and slow, huge circles. And then bring your hands, your fingertips to the points of your shoulder heads and do the same thing with your elbows. So your elbows are reaching forward, up and back, 3 big circles. And now do the same thing with your hands. So your hands are reaching forward, up and back, 3 huge circles. And you can have a little bit of movement in your legs. Make sure you've got a little bit of bend in your knees. I'm going to take all of this the other direction. So starting with 3 big shoulder rolls forwards. Going back, up and forward. And then bring your hands to your shoulders and do the same thing. Elbows going back, up and forwards. Try to stay nice and tall through your spine. And then extend your arms and find these 3 huge front strokes here. You can have a little bit of a bend with your arms if you need. And then release your arms back by your side. We'll move into a neck stretch from here. Take your right hand to your left ear and tip your right ear over towards your right shoulder. And as you're doing that, try to maintain a little bit of space. And then you can bring your left hand to your right bicep, and that'll add a little extra weight as you stretch your head over to the right side. You can stay still here. You can find a little bit of movement. Just feeling the stretch a little bit differently through the side of your neck. And then start to move your jaw around. You can take big jaw circles here like you're chewing something, but you want to find some release through the jaw. And then slowly release. Bring this up. Rotate your nose to face towards your right bicep, and then pull your nose down towards your right bicep. And you can stay still, or you can find a little bit of movement here. Just taking breath into the back of your left neck. And then release. We'll do this all to the opposite side. Take your left hand and tip your left ear over towards your left shoulder, and then bring your right hand to your left bicep. And just take a few moments of breath here. Maybe you find a little bit of movement through your head and your neck. And then you can start to move around through your jaw, make big circles. Maybe open your mouth nice and wide or move your tongue around. But you'll probably notice a little bit of a difference in the stretch in your neck when you start to move your jaw around. Slowly release and rotate your nose towards your left bicep. Catch the back of your head and pull your nose down towards your arm. And you can stay still here. You can find a little bit of movement. And then slowly release. Bring yourself up and out of this. We're going to come back down to the ground to a dolphin pose. So bring yourself all the way down. You can come through a forward fold and then bring your knees down to the ground. So you're coming into a tabletop, and then bring your forearms down to the ground. Try to keep your palms so they're flat. Flip your toes under and lift your hips up. So you're in this dolphin pose. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Then bring your gaze forward and try to find that cat and cow, similar to how we did in your downward facing dog, but now finding it in this dolphin pose. So you're gonna find a little more activation into the shoulders. Really press down into your elbows and your forearms. Spread your fingers nice and wide. If your heels are lifting up off the mat, that's no big deal. Just finding this nice movement through your spine, movement through your upper shoulders, upper back. And come to a downward facing dog, maybe both arms at the same time, or maybe one arm at a time. Moving into a little sequence here, take your right hand to your left ankle, and then take your left hand to your middle back. And do that again, right hand to left ankle, left hand to middle back. Keep that going. We take this about 5 times, just switching off one hand to the other, finding that weight distribution, or weight shift, I should say, and finding how we're firing differently in the upper back and the shoulder. And then switch. So left hand will come to right ankle, bring it across, and then bend your right elbow so your hand pats your back. And do that again. So finding that weight shift, that weight switch from one hand to the other. Hand taps the ankle, hand taps the middle back. Finding stabilization in each shoulder, switching weight from one side to the other. And then after your final time, just hold for a moment in your downward facing dog. And shift forward to a high plank. Bend your elbows nice and slow by your side. Lower yourself all the way down onto your belly. Stretch your arms so they're coming out in front of you, your palms face down towards the mat. Now lift your right arm, pat your back, reach your right arm, and then lower. Right side again. Reach the right arm up. Pat the space between your shoulders, reach your right arm again, and lower. Doing this with control. Try to keep your left arm pressing down into the mat. Keep your feet pressing down into the mat as well. Similar position that we keep coming into, this bend of the elbow, this pat of the space between your shoulder blades, just finding a little more mobility into the shoulder. And after you've done 5 on the right, take 5 on the left. Lift the left arm. Pat your back, reach your left hand forward, and lower. Keep your right hand pressing down. Keep your 2 hips pressing down. And try to keep your left shoulder down. So try not to let your left shoulder lift up too much. It's obviously going to lift up a little bit, but try not to twist it open. And after you've done 5, we're gonna do both arms at the same time. So do your 5 on your left, take a few moments, and then get yourself ready for doubles. So reach both arms up, keep your feet down, that's the hardest part. Pat both hands to between your shoulders, reach forward and lower. We do this 5 times total. Reach, pat that space between your shoulder blades, reach forward and lower. Try to keep your hips heavy, keep your forehead heavy, keep your feet heavy. Reach up, pat the space between your shoulder blades, reach your arms forward and release. 5 times total. And after your 5th time, bring your hands back down to the ground. Push yourself back to a child's pose, an opportunity to kind of let that go. Find a nice bit of roundiness into the space between your shoulder blades. Take a big breath in and a full breath out. And then slowly bring yourself up and out of this and move all the way onto your back, however you need to bring yourself down to the ground. From your back, we're going to come into a plow pose. So for your plow pose, bring your legs up and over your head. You can use your hands on your lower back for a little bit of support, or you can hug your hands around your calves. Bend your knees and try to lift your hips up a little bit higher, feeling a nice stretch into your whole back space here. Make sure that you're looking straight up and you're not turning your head to one side or the other. You want your neck to be nice and neutral. Give yourself a few more moments of breath here. And then with control, slowly start to bring yourself out. So your hands can come to your lower back, or you can just slowly start to roll yourself down. Extend your legs long in front of you. Bring your arms to your side. Let your eyes close. Moving to our final Shavasana, a little opportunity to come back into your breath, come back into your body. Thank you for joining us today. And that's your flow.